Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today, the peak, the pinnacle, the apex, the greatest autumn fragrances of all time, chosen by a highly selective panel of fragrance experts. We're talking about people that know everything. The ins, the outs, the movers, the shakers, everything. You guys. Actually, yeah. These fragrances, in fact, were chosen by you guys, according to the post that I put up on my channel asking you, what is the greatest fall fragrance ever? So now we will gather around and reminisce together about these fantastical fall fragrances. All of these will be linked in the description below. Let's get started with the first choice, Reserve Privé, which to be fair is a heck of a first choice. This stuff rules. Shout out to Tim Schwarz, 1739, probably butchered your name, who chose this one. We all know that Reserve Privé is the stuff, right? And there's somebody out there right now who's like, well, I actually don't like it very much. Give it time, you will. This is the pinnacle of the Gentleman line for a bunch of people out there. It has that iris front and center, smells amazing. Really classy, elegant, extremely well done. Has a bit of a woody aspect in there as well, along with some nice booze. Also has chestnut in there, which gives it a little bit of a gourmand feel. Ties it in with a lot of other fragrances nowadays, but it still has its own vibe. And when it comes to Gentleman fragrances during the fall, you just about can wear any of them and smell absolutely amazing. And Craig the Table agrees, which is why this one is first, Reserve Privé. But Tim was a little greedy. He didn't just give us one fragrance, he gave us two. But to be fair, both fragrances were really good. So we're featuring both of them. The next one is Bottled Absolute by Hugo Boss. This stuff absolutely rips. It smells a little bit similar to Parfums de Marly's Carlisle, and it's gonna do the same things that that one does, only with a little bit more of a designer lean to it, which means for you, it's gonna be easier to pull off. And this isn't good just during fall, and honestly, all of these you can wear fall or winter, but Absolute, I think fall, winter, and also spring evenings, this stuff, absolutely amazing. It does have a little more of a formal lean to it. It just has that sort of elegance to it, you know, that elevated scent profile to it, but it does smell so appealing that you can wear this stuff just about whenever you want. Starting off strong. I want to say how proud I am of you guys. Every time that I've asked you, you know, what's a really good fragrance for this or that, you guys come together and have amazing answers like every time. I haven't done one of these videos in months. Maybe we'll do a couple more heading into the winter. Talking about videos where you guys are the ones that run it. The next choice comes to us from Colton Ernst, who says that this next fragrance absolutely is perfect for fall weather, and I agree. It's Le Male Le Parfum by Jean-Paul Gaultier. Now, of course, there's also Elixir and Elixir Absolute, and you could wear those during fall as well. They would work, but a lot of people, I think, lean a little bit more toward wintertime for those specifically, especially Le Male Elixir, because that one is a little more honey forward, you know, sweeter. I say honey forward as if there's honey in this one, but you know what I'm saying. It's just overall the sweeter of the two compared to this. Now, there is some sweetness in Le Male Le Parfum. It's got vanilla in there, but this one is gonna be just a little bit more reined in. And I don't mean that in the sense that it's not as appealing, because it absolutely is. It's just not quite as like in your face with the syrupy sweetness that Le Male Elixir can be. That being said, I love Le Male Elixir. That is not a shot at that fragrance at all. This one a little bit more refined and also has iris in there once again. Not as much as you're gonna find over here in Gentleman Reserve Privé, but still has it in the fragrance, kind of along the edges, a little bit of a powdery iris along with the vanilla that's in here. Also some nice spiciness as well. Just another great fragrance. This stuff, fantastic. Truth be told, these three right here, if this is all you have, you are smelling like a king all fall long. Maybe you would be leaning a little bit heavier towards a more elegant collection with these three, but still, you'd be smelling awesome. The next fragrance choice comes to us from Pogs Slammer, which, by the way, good name. His choice, he says, is classy and a crowd pleaser that lasts all day long, and those three things together sound pretty good. It is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme, and he goes on to say that when he first got this fragrance, he didn't know what to think about it, but over time, it grew on him. And that does happen a lot when it comes to fragrances. I know a bunch of you out there know what I'm talking about, but you'll get a fragrance in and be really hyped for it, really excited about it, and then spray it on, and you just think to yourself, like, this just really isn't doing it for me. Whether it's because, you know, you feel like you couldn't wear it very often, or you know, it's just the type of fragrance that it is. Maybe it doesn't vibe with you. And then over time, you know, you give it another chance, give it another go, and it's like, wow, this stuff is so much better than I remember, and it ends up becoming a favorite. And to be fair, Noir Extreme is pretty different when you compare it to most designer fragrances out there, which is really wild to think about because this has been out now for about a decade. And in that time frame, there hasn't been really much of anything that's come out that smells really close to this. You know, there's a clone here or there that's a little bit similar, but not another designer fragrance that kind of wanted to play in that same ballpark as what this one does. So you got a lot of notes here. There's vanilla, there's cardamom, there's rose, but what it's probably most well known for is coffee. So again, that's gonna help give it its identity, you know, that little bit of like pistachio ice cream sort of vibe. It's another one that's very masculine and classy and refined. Stuff is great. The next choice is from BB 13131313. I think it was 4 13s. And the fragrance that they chose, they say that they wear all year round, but that it's best suited for fall, and it's Luna Rosa Black. And again, this stuff just insane. Like all these fragrances here, perfect. Luna Rosa Black is actually one of my favorite designers, period, when it comes to fall. This stuff is just top notch. It has a good dose of tonka in there, so you're gonna have a nice, warm, sweet aspect to it. Also a little bit rubbery, but in a really appealing way. And it has similarities, as I've said a number of times, to the discontinued Bulgari Black and Midnight in Paris. And with those two fragrances gone, basically, this is like last man standing. So it has a similar vibe to Tom Ford Noir Extreme in that sense, in that there's not a whole lot of other things out there that smell similar to it. Not that they smell similar to each other, because they don't. Fluffy 808 is bringing us the next choice, and he has 2 bangers. But before we jump into those fragrances, I want to give you guys the codes, as always. And here they are. General shop codes only work within the app, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. You can use them to save yourself a little money if you're shopping there. Then also have codes for a multitude of other stores as well. So anytime you shop at any of these places, whether it's Lucky Scent, the Perfume Box, or any others, use those codes, save yourself some money. So the first choice from Fluffy, Victory Elixir by Paco Rabanne. Amazing. This stuff, if you like vanilla, especially the way it's used nowadays, like a modern vanilla, that sort of almost effervescent vanilla, where it's sweet but sparkly at the same time. So it doesn't come across powdery, it doesn't come across too heavy, you know, it's got a nice liveliness to it. This is one of the best. And to an extent, Invictus Victory Elixir smells like you took the original Invictus Victory and then mixed it with a bunch of different fragrances, you know, like Le Beau Le Parfum from Jean Paul Gaultier. Take some of that, mix it in there. Some people compare it to some of the Bad Boy fragrances, you know, stuff like that. So it's kind of like an amalgamation of a lot of different popular fragrances kind of put together. Great performance, you know, it projects, it lasts. So during the fall, especially in the evening when it starts to get cool, you know, toward late fall, this stuff, absolutely amazing. And as with pretty much all of these, like I said before, wear it during the winter too. His other choice is a little bit different. It's one that I think is really well done. My wife loves this stuff, but it doesn't get talked about as much as like this one or this one or this one or this one. It is the Scent Magnetic by Hugo Boss. And interestingly enough, the scent line does way better in terms of sales in Europe than it does in the US. That being said, the Scent Magnetic is still not the most popular in the scent lineup. So even if you are in Europe where it's more popular there, it's still not a fragrance that, you know, everybody's wearing. So it's gonna give you something a little bit unique, something different than most other people are wearing. It has black vanilla and Meninka, some of the notes in the fragrance. Also has Bran, which is a little bit odd, but it works. Also decently similar to the Scent Elixir. So if you have that fragrance or you've smelled that fragrance and you haven't smelled this one, it's pretty similar. This one concentrating a bit more on that vanilla. And the vanilla here is very sweet, not overly powdery, but it does have a touch of powder to it. And then has a really interesting fruity sweetness from the Meninka that's off the top, which if you're familiar with the scent line, most of the fragrances in that lineup do use Meninka off the top, and it gives it its own kind of scent profile. And that's what really gives this line its identity, that Meninka fruit. Hossman 78, his choice, he kept very simple. Just the name of the fragrance, says he loves it. The One Eau de Parfum, which to be fair, I'm in complete agreement. This stuff is great. The One is top-notch stuff. The One Eau de Parfum, even though it doesn't have the greatest performance in the world, who cares? It's good enough, it's good enough. And for a date night fragrance, one of the best. Spicy, warm, just the right amount of sweetness. Compared to most new fragrances, actually, it's not that sweet. There's some sweetness to it, of course, but it's more that warm spiciness, you know, that tobacco, the ginger. And to an extent, it becomes almost even better nowadays because this fragrance here somehow smells even more unique now than when it came out. This is no shot at all against a lot of the more modern fragrances because I think they're absolutely killer. But, you know, vanilla, caramel, toffee, that's really big right now. Chestnut, stuff like that. Used in a very in-your-face way, to grab attention, to last a long time, and it does that really well. But something like this that is a little more reined in that aspect almost stands out more now. And so the one Eau de Parfum, great. Great choice. Utah Sun Devil has two choices. The first one, Narciso Rodriguez Blue Noir Parfum. This one is really, really, really good if you like iris in your fragrances. You gotta like that. Gets compared a little bit to Valentino Uomo Intense. Now that's Uomo Intense, not Born in Roma Intense. Those are two different things. I know a lot of you know that, but just in case you don't, because I don't want you to buy this and be like, oh, I love Born in Roma Intense, and then get this in and be like, what is this? So as I said, iris, you also have suede in here. You've got cardamom, tonka. It's enormously classy. You would wear it pretty much the same times as Valentino Uomo Intense or Dior Homme, the original version. It does have a little touch of powder to it, but I think it's well done, and there's a nice little sweetness in there as well that helps balance everything out. Top-notch stuff, really well done, and that one does, to be fair, fly under the radar. But they also wanted to include this one, which they also say flies under the radar, Brioni Eau de Parfum Intense, which is another fragrance that I absolutely love, but it's not gonna be for everybody. So off the top, I think it smells amazing. It's got this nice fruity sweetness to it, apple in there right away. The fruit actually has a nice deepness to it. It's got like a touch of freshness, but it's more so just a very well-rounded, sweet, fruity pop. Very lightly crisp, but not the type of crisp apple that's, you know, screaming for like spring or summer. This is fall and winter. As it dries down, oud is one of the notes that's in there. It's just a nice dark woodiness. You know, it's not fecal or anything like that. Pretty easy to wear, all things considered. Classy, of course, and definitely under the radar. Not too many people out there are rocking the Brioni, but they should be. That being said, if you're a younger guy, like let's say you're, you know, in your teens or like your early 20s, something like that, you probably won't like this one quite as much. In that circumstance, you're gonna like probably more, I would say, La Male de Parfum, Invictus Victory Elixir, maybe the Scent Magnetic, the one Eau de Parfum, possibly these two on the end. The next choice comes to us from Jump on Moba, who says that this next fragrance is absolutely everything you want in a fall scent. La Nuit de l'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. And it's kind of funny that La Nuit is in here and the one Eau de Parfum is in here because these two for a really long time were kind of like 1A, 1B. It was like, look, if you want a sexy fragrance for fall and winter time that you can wear on a date, you want this, you want that. This is what you want. These were the two. And so it's cool to see them both in here, both of them getting love. La Nuit, a classic fragrance known for its cardamom, and it does smell good. Like you can smell this 1,000 times. When you come back to it, you just gotta be like, oh, yeah, it still works. Yeah, it's good, man. It has a little balance of freshness in there. Not overly sweet. You know, there's some sweetness in here, yes, but like with the one Eau de Parfum, when you compare it to most scents nowadays, it's actually really, as I said, well balanced. Warm spices, ultra sexy, women love this stuff. Billy Gill is up next, and his choice is a fragrance that he says just absolutely sings off his skin when it's fall. It's L'Homme Ideal Extreme. And this is a line that I think you could pick a lot of fragrances from. The Eau de Parfum, the original Eau de Toilette, L'Intense, any of those would work well. Even the newer Parfum, that would work also. Extreme though, this one gets a whole bunch of love, and the plum is one of the big reasons why. The plum and tobacco in combination in here smell amazing, so you get a nice deep sweetness from the plum, the fruit, you know, coming across differently than your more typical apple, bergamot, grapefruit, stuff like that. The tobacco is sort of a pipe tobacco, so you get a good sweetness in there with that. The almond ties it together with all the other fragrances, a little creaminess from that. And during fall, stuff is amazing. Yeah, around the holiday season, stuff is perfect, really good performance as well. And yes, of course, everybody knows Guerlain if you're into fragrances, but this is not as popular as all the other bigger designer names. So that means once again, if you're wearing this, there's probably not gonna be anybody that you bump into that's also wearing it. And the last choice is from the Scent Detective, which is a good name, and he picks Jazz Club. Hands down, he says. And of course, when it comes to Maison Martin Margiela Jazz Club, that's the one to own, right? Most people will say if you're gonna have just one, scoop this one, or by the fireplace, I guess. But Jazz Club is always mentioned. Love the note breakdown here. Tobacco, vanilla, rum. Also a touch of vetiver in there, which I know a lot of people, you know, they don't dig vetiver, but I absolutely do. And this is a good one to kind of maybe slightly get your feet wet with that note, because it's in there, but it's playing a part. It's not like the star of the show. It's not that type of vetiver that's really forcefully put into your face, up your nose. Instead, it's this nice dry woodiness. It's kind of lurking there in the background, helping support everything else and kind of filling in the gaps of the fragrance. Performance is just right. It doesn't scream, it doesn't screech, but it lasts long enough, it projects well enough, and it ends up becoming kind of an intoxicating scent cocktail in the air where people smell it and they're just like, what are you wearing? So Jazz Club, perfect end to this list. And that is your choices right there. There they are. Truthfully, like you're wearing any of these during the fall, you are smelling amazing. I want to thank everybody who took part in this, everybody that upvoted other people's answers, and also if you weren't featured here, I want to thank you as well for sharing your choice with everybody else. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me here. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.